Sir Robin Millar is one of the country's most celebrated music producers. He's also the chairman of Scope and deeply concerned by the government's proposed changes to disability benefits. He joins me now. Good morning, Sir Robin.
Good morning, Sir Trevor.
You obviously heard the Chancellor's spring statement. How did you respond?
I thought perhaps this is disabled people's Me Too moment, Trevor, not in the nature of suffering, but in the fact that it may be the time to stand up en masse and say, this is unacceptable, I suppose.
Why do you think it's unacceptable? The Chancellor's got to make her sums add up, and everybody, I guess she would say, has to make a contribution.
Yes, but it doesn't make economic sense, Trevor. We've been talking to government critically but politely for a long time now and making the case that £1 billion put into the right sort of support for disabled people into work, that means halving the disability gap, the employment gap, would reap a £17 billion reward for the government. And by the way, the Office for National Statistics agree and accept and have adopted those figures. I think this is about something else. I think this is about something that we've seen before, which is that when things aren't going so well at home, UK premiers have a habit of rule Britannia sabre rattling abroad. And the impact of that, of course, has been to say, let's increase the defence budget at the expense of the welfare budget, which of course shocks anyone who's ever supported the Labour Party in their lives. I mean, it shocks them to the core. If you said a Labour government are going to vote for guns, wars, planes, tanks, and cut welfare benefits, I think most people would be shocked, including us. One other thing, Trevor, if you don't mind, is that Rachel Reeves 2 or 3 times this week, they talk about ordinary working people. She stresses this phrase. Every time she says it, disabled people feel a slap in the face because it means, and we don't mean you, because you can't get work, we haven't helped you into work, you're just a benefits person, so you're not the people that we're interested in. We want ordinary working people. It's horrid.
Is it your feeling, from what you've just been saying, that the 16 million people, disabled people that Scope aspires to speak for, feel in some way disrespected by what the Chancellor's put forward?
I think the Chancellor's in a difficult position. I think it's right that government needs to balance its books. They've got themselves in a bit of a mess because actually, you know, changing disability benefits requires legislation, Trevor, and that's going to take 18 months, 2 years plus. So there isn't going to be a sudden cash injection from changing the benefit system. The other thing is that ramping up defence, once again, that's going to take 10 years. That's not going to solve the European Union situation. So I understand they've got to balance their books, but they're doing it in the wrong way.
For the average, I know there's no average disabled person, but a typical disabled person. What do you think, if they eventually make the changes they're making, some of which will reduce the level of benefits available, and more importantly, make accessing benefits more difficult? What will that mean, do you think, in practice for some disabled people?
Well, I know what it'll mean in practice, and I know it's very difficult if you're in government to think strategically. What will happen, Trevor, is anxiety. My benefits are going to be cut. Anxiety leading to more health issues, leading to more stress on the NHS. Practically speaking, more people in poverty. It's cost about £1,000 a month extra on average to be disabled. Keeping warm, keeping oxygen topped up, keeping wheelchairs moving. The anxiety will be a downward spiral and a very, very, very nasty one.
I've heard people talking about the risk of people losing their homes or their their specialised accommodation. Is that the sort of risk you're thinking about?
Yes, but there is a perception, I think, amongst perhaps some politicians that the way you characterise disabled people is sitting at home, twitching the curtains, waiting for the benefits person to come round. 16 million people is nearly a quarter of the country. They've all got brothers and sisters and wives and husbands. It's half the country. It's half the country. It's most people's future. You don't get to 70 without having 2 or 3: mobility, cognition, eyes, hearing. Disability is everybody's future. So it's strange to think about them as other. It's us. And all we want, by the way, is to lead the same lives as everybody else. We don't want to be special. We just want the same lives as everybody else. And that means a job, a home. That's all.
Robin Millar, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Great pleasure.